When French video game publisher Ubisoft decided to make a regional development studio in North America, they set it in French-speaking Montreal. After a few low-profile projects, the studio decided to go for the big leagues with a Tom Clancy-branded espionage game called Splinter. The stealth-action hybrid was a huge hit and a major system seller for the Xbox. Ubisoft Montreal was now a first-rate developer. But to make a first-rate sequel, they'd need at least 2 years to make it, more than their bosses back in Paris wanted to wait. And so, after the release of the first game, 2 studios set to work on a follow-up. A quick sequel from Ubisoft Shanghai, reusing the same game engine, and a more ambitious endeavor from Ubisoft Montreal with all-new technology. Sam Fisher had already become a one-man franchise. Ubisoft Shanghai wanted to achieve several things with their sequel Shadow Strike. For one thing, they wanted Sam Fisher to get some sun. While the interiors of the first game made for some great levels, the Shanghai team believed that a greater variety of environments would be more engaging for the player. And so in his new adventure, Fisher would work his way through several exterior locations in addition to infiltrating bases. Armed with his signature goggles and Michael Ironside's voice, Fisher played much like he did in the first game, which fans of the series didn't mind at all.
Find us some French brains.
I won't promise anything.
But the big addition would be the competitive multiplayer for Xbox Live. However, this would not be the basic team deathmatch of other action games. Rather, it was limited to 2-on-2 battles between a spy team and a mercenary team. The spy team played much like Fisher in the single-player mode, with low health and ammo, but a good deal of gadgets and agility. The mercenaries, by contrast, were a completely different playstyle, much closer to traditional first-person shooters with heavy armor and guns. The matchups thus became incredibly tactical, forcing the 2 players to work together with the strengths of their class in order to overcome their opposition. It was unlike anything multiplayer had ever done before and became the signature new feature of the game. Renamed Pandora Tomorrow by its release in March 2004, the game reviewed and sold well, paving the way for the game the Montreal team already had in development. By holiday 2004, with a hit game released and a new one on the way, Ubisoft decided it was time to expand the tale of Sam Fisher to other media. And so a novel was published, cleverly titled Tom Clancy's Splinter. Despite the name, it had nothing to do with the first game and was, in fact, an all-new adventure, written from the first-person perspective of Sam Fisher. Though the book clearly said it was written by David Michaels, this was later revealed to be a catch-all pseudonym. Since then, any novel based on a Tom Clancy game has been credited to David Michaels, even though several different authors have actually written them. But with Fisher on a roll, it was time for the studio that created him to send him off on a new mission. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory released in March 2005 with a new graphics engine and once again set the bar for what consoles could achieve. With the new graphics also came a revamped stealth system that now tracked a player's noise as well as his visual profile. With the new way to sneak around guards came better guards. Now, each time they set off an alarm, the guards would become more alert and put on heavier armor. If enough alarms went off, they would barricade themselves in defensive positions that would be extremely tough to sneak around or shoot through. This new alarm system meant that gamers would no longer fail the mission just because they'd been spotted too many times. A nod towards more casual gamers that not all hardcore fans appreciated. The multiplayer mode from Pandora Tomorrow returned, with some tweaked features and new modes. But this time around, the game would also be hosting cooperative multiplayer. The co-op missions were a whole slew of new missions designed specifically for 2 players working in tandem, and featured new characters and storylines that interwove with the main single-player narrative. On top of all of this, super spy Sam Fisher finally learned he had a knife.
Like my new knife?
Oh, God!
I've been using it quite a bit. Is it still sharp?
Real sharp?
Maybe you better tell me something interesting before I get all distracted and slip.
Chaos Theory released to glowing critical praise, and to this day is often cited as the best in the franchise. Sadly, the same was not true of the next Splinter Cell game. A year later, in March 2006, Ubisoft Montreal released Splinter Cell Essentials for the PSP. The handheld game took place after the events of Splinter Cell Double Agent, which was supposed to release on the same day. Unfortunately, Double Agent was delayed at the last minute, which meant that Essentials took place after a game that hadn't even been released yet. The game acted as a series of flashbacks, with Fisher reflecting on missions he'd done throughout his time as a Black Ops agent. It nominally featured all of the elements of a Splinter Cell game: stealth, gadgets, and goggles. But the complex controls needed to handle it all didn't map onto the PSP very well. Additionally, making the game live up to Splinter Cell's visual standards meant that the frame rate suffered dramatically. Sadly, the game wasn't received well, with many reviewers stating that the game felt rushed out the door. Unfortunate considering that Double Agent was delayed anyway. With the relative failure of Essentials behind them, Ubisoft looked forward to releasing Double Agent in the fall of 2006. This time, Fisher would be coming to the next generation of consoles. But since the 7th generation were still newcomers to the market, the title would also be released on 6th generation consoles. Not until it was released did anyone realize that each generation got an entirely different game. Tune in next time to see how Double Agent became a double game.